Hi, and welcome to Record Collecting with the Quill. For this episode, we will talk about live albums, but not the obvious ones, not Deep Purple made in Japan or Allman Brothers live at Fillmore. No, I went through my collection and found a couple of albums that aren't that known. And I thought I would share them with you and talk a little bit about them. But before we start, be sure to subscribe. The Quill Sweden, that's the Quill Sweden, for future episodes, and you can also check older episodes there as well. They're still available. So, where do we start? Well, as you may or may not know, the Quill loves Black Sabbath, and my first pick is this one. Black Sabbath released a live album, Live Evil, with this lineup around the time the band was active. But this one came a bit later. I think in 2007 it was first released on CD, and a couple of years later they released it on vinyl, limited edition. This one is still sealed, as you can see, and the reason for that being it's also available as on this expanded edition of Mob Rules. You can find the full recording, so that's why I keep it sealed still. I don't know if it will be it forever, but this one, why is it better than Live Evil? Yeah, I think it's a lot rawer actually. It was recorded over 3 nights in December in 1981 and January 1982, and it's a lot. The recording is raw. I think the band is in swinging here. Vinny Appice is utterly amazing. He plays really well, and it's also fun because there's a couple of tracks that aren't on the Live Evil album. You have Country Girl, you have Slipping Away. So it's a 3-disc set as well. Mine is copy number 2466 actually. Getting to be a bit expensive. If you don't want to shell out that kind of money, buy the Mob Rules extended version. I think is being re-released actually in a couple of weeks. But if you can find this one, go get it. It's heavy, it's Dio, it's Geezer, it's Vinny Appice, it's Stone Iommi. You don't have to, I don't have to say anything more than that. Next one is a favorite band. For some reason, whenever we're on tour, this is a group we tend to listen to a lot. They called Mother's Finest. Some of you may know them really well. Some of you may not. They've been around for a really long time. They started out early in the early 70s and had a couple of hits in the late 70s. Kind of funk rock. They started out as more of a show band or review band, and it shows on this album as well. It's super tight. There's a lot of audience participation. It's heavy, it's soulful, it's funky, some great grooves. They have a great drummer. It's not with the band anymore. They're still active. They tour Europe from time to time and America as well. I miss them. It's one of those bands I really want to see live, but for some reason I never managed to see them. They don't come to Sweden that often, but I do know they tour Germany quite often. So hopefully someday. This is a nice one. The only letdown is that it's a single disc. It's not the full show. It's got a nice inner cover as well with some cheesy photos, but don't let that fool you. This is one of those albums that takes no prisoners. Mother's Finest live. And if Mother's Finest is like super tight and thought out, my next pick is the total opposite. This is Cant Heat, live in Europe 70s concert. This one is about as loose as it can get, but I love it. It's soulful, it's swinging, and it's dirty, but also really. It's I think this was recorded just before their founder and Alan Wilson took his own life, guitar player, and he played also harmonica. A great harmonica, by the way. The standout track on this album being his track London Blues, telling the true story of him being left by a girl in London. He had a hard time finding girls, and he found one he really liked, but she didn't like him, obviously. So he wrote a song about it. It's really painful knowing he took his own life shortly afterwards. Some nice fold out. Some cool photos, as you can see. And it's actually, it's kind of difficult to show because it's folded the wrong way. I can also, this book, if you like Cant Heat and want to know more, Living the Blues, written by the drummer Fido. This one makes Motley Crue's The Dirt looks like a children's tale. This book has these stories, some really interesting stuff, and they've been around for a long while, so there's some really funny stories and sad stories as well. I don't know if it's still available, if it's in print, but you can probably find it on eBay or so. Living the Blues. Next one, another favorite band, the Black Crowes. This one is called Freak and Roll Into the Fog. This one was actually released on DVD at first, and then later came out on CD and on vinyl. It's kind of interesting, Black Crowes being one of those bands who made their career on live shows. They never really released a properly thought out live album. They released a bunch of stuff, but it's more like, here's a show, hope you enjoy it. But this one, coming from the reunion shows around 2005, are really good. Arguably the best lineup, with Mark Ford back in the band, Sven on bass, and you have Chris, Ed, Rich, and Steve doing their thing. And I love the DVD when it came out, and when it came as a vinyl edition, I had to buy it. It's really good. It's nice package. It's slipcase for the cover, and then it's like a book. I actually took the records out because it's kind of fragile, but you have some nice photos here of the band as well. Also kind of expensive, but well worth it. They release a lot of stuff, Black Crowes, on vinyl, usually in small editions, but always really nice. So Freak and Roll Into the Fog with Black Crowes, my fourth pick. And last but not least, and we're going to do a little bit of an exception now, we're going to do a CD. We're going to do this one, Humble Pie, King Biscuit, Flower Hour in concert. This one has to be one of the best live recordings ever. Humble Pie is famous for the Fillmore album. That's a really strong album as well. This one was recorded a little bit later in 1973, and Peter Frampton had left the band by this time, and it's Dave Clemson on guitar, but it's amazing. It's Steve Marriott in his best. It's soul, it's rock, it's blues, and it's swinging, and he's a total rock and roll preacher here. You can listening to this, you see where Paul Stanley from Kiss got all his stage moves and his way of preaching to the audience, and some great tracks. The opening track, Up Your Sleeve, it's worth the price alone. I think it's been released on vinyl since. This is the first edition, came out in, I think, in 95 on CD, and it's kind of a bit forgotten. Everyone raves about the Fillmore shows, but this one is really, I think it's available with a lot of different names. I think it's available as Winterland, and I think also Hot and Heavy. I think the vinyl version is called Hot and Heavy. So if you haven't checked this one out, do it. You won't be disappointed. This is what rock and roll is all about. Humble Pie in concert, King Biscuit, Flower Hour. Steve Marriott. He was an amazing frontman, both in Small Faces and in Humble Pie. So we're about the 10-minute mark now, and as I said, I found a bunch of more albums, and I think we will talk about next week and do a part 2 live album episode. Meanwhile, I put together a Spotify playlist. I actually did it for the last episode, but forgot to mention it. But it's going to be available in the comment section, and I'm going to put some tracks from each album so you can check them out if you want to. And there's also tracks from the previous episodes, so you can check them out if you want to as well. If you found something interesting here and you want to check it out. So, meanwhile, be sure to subscribe, as I said, to this YouTube channel, The Quill Sweden, and also follow us in social media, the same, The Quill Sweden. And I'll see you all again next week. And on Friday, actually, we're releasing a third video from the upcoming album Earthrise. It's called Dwarf Planet, a really cool animated video, so check it out. I think it's available on Thursday or Friday, I believe. We'll see. But that's it for now. Bye, and see you again next week. Cheers.